Welcome, everyone, to day number 3 of week 2 of the PPL. My name is Gormizer, and we're going to be doing the pre-show here for the European matchup, FNATIC's doubleheader. And joining me on the desk, as always, is Rain Day and Pretty Hair. How you guys doing today?
Terrific.
Very good. I won't use terrific. I'll use very good.
West Virginia.
Slightly below terrific.
Very good.
Flowing in.
Yeah, country's in is
Country's
in the wind.
In the air today.
Yeah.
Well, today is an important day for Fnatic, I guess,
is.
in the sense that at this point, I'm looking at them as a team that is trying to hold on. That has kind of been my question marks for them, is
Right.
going 8-0 for the past 2 splits, going to LAN, always ending up losing. And the question has been, is this just a team that's going to be monsters online, or are they finally going to get taken down? And then Na'Vi end up taking them down at just last week,
Right.
to making it to no longer undefeated online, not winning LANs. Today's a big day for them.
Yeah, they need to come back, and obviously they have 2 great teams to do it on. Virtus.pro and Mouse Sports, you wouldn't say that's the toughest of competition that they could face potentially. I think a Na'Vi NIP doubleheader sounds a lot more threatening.
Yeah.
But the bigger key for me is that Fnatic needed something to change the aspect of what their seasons had always looked like. You can't go 8-0, lose, go 8-0, lose, and think that going 8-0 is the answer to your problems when you get to LAN. So they got shooken up. Maybe that's the best thing that could have happened to them mid-set.
Yeah, I don't even know how worried they necessarily are about it, because they've almost
wouldn't be.
joked, right, about like losing a game or losing all their games, right? Something different needs to happen for them. They kind of agree. They're a little stumped, I think, as we are, as to what it is that's keeping them from their trophies. They always look so good online. And it's, sometimes it's choking, but for all intents and purposes, I thought they looked pretty good in the Summerland. The Springland, that was a different story for me.
Yeah.
But the Summerland, it was, no one really choking, in my opinion. It was
Yeah.
really, really hard fought. Just Na'Vi having that slight edge.
Yeah. And it feels like with Na'Vi, they really have this chess match going on between the two of them, and it's not even about who's a better player. It reminds me of Hunter x Hunter, if you've ever seen that anime. Towards the end, there's an extended match of a game that just keeps getting played and played again by 2 masters. And the concept is that, each one extremely skilled, and it's just a matter of what happens that game. One has the upper edge, but eventually that edge falls. And I think if you just give it time, Fnatic will find the edge that will deal the damage, that will finally usurp Na'Vi from the LAN win. But they have to continue to have faith in themselves and in their team.
So going into today, do you think that Mouse or Virtus.pro, either of them, actually have grown enough as a team to be able to take down Fnatic, or is this still a day that looks like a pretty clean sweep for Fnatic?
It would be disrespectful to Fnatic and the players on that roster to think that Virtus.pro or Mouse Sports could get a win here. I'm not saying it's impossible, but to start this show and say that they're going to get a win, that would be disrespectful. I would never say that.
There's a couple of things, especially for Mouse Sports, in my opinion, that we saw during the Na'Vi set that is, market improvements for them. They're making strides, right? Especially on Serpent Beach. That's sort of the game that I've sort of brought back up throughout the week at a couple of different times for the purpose of they are winning certain aspects of certain maps against Na'Vi. And it's like they have this map control, or maybe it's point control, or whatever it is, it's zone control.
But they don't finish it
and then
off.
they're like,
right?
oh God, what do we do with it? We got it. Now
We've got it. Now what do we do?
What do we do with it?
We have the ball.
And it kind of freaks them out maybe in a little bit of a way. But the more that they get there, the more they get to that spot, get what they want, get a good draft, execute it, that's where they're going to start to get comfortable, and then down the line we can have this conversation about an upset.
That actually just makes me think of what we were talking about earlier, where it's either of these
Country's
teams, you
in.
look at Mouse or VV, you give them that room, and like you said, Mouse, it kind of feels like they're not sure what to do with it, and Virtus.pro, it seems like sometimes they maybe jump the gun, they maybe get a little bit too egotistical about it, where they're like, wait a minute, we can stop them, we can push them out, let's go ahead and get aggressive.
How many times have Mouse Sports and Virtus.pro been playing with a lead? Come on. How many objectives have they really captured? This is real questions. The answer is they don't know what to do. They haven't done it. And this is great for Mouse Sports and Virtus.pro to finally start doing that, but you can expect that when they do get it, there are going to be things they have to work out now on the winning end. It's a process. It is continual, and it is a continuum, like many things, but you cannot expect them to finally get one win and be like, all right, now, we're going to 4-0 this. I think they still are going to have to deal with their own ways of trying to maximize how effective they can be even when they're being successful.
I think they do have talented rosters to develop themselves. After what we've seen the Na'Vi roster do, I do think that there is hope for these guys eventually, as long as they stick together and keep working it out.
But what he's saying is they can't win today.
Not
That's
today.
What he's also saying.
So taking a look at a little closer, I think, at specifics in the sets.
Yeah.
Drogoz is very important to FNATIC. Pacheco makes it look incredible, almost as good as what we see out of Random Noob in North America. But Mouse also like picking that up and giving it over to Andrew Doodle. It's been a very big asset for them in the past games. Do you think that's going to be something that's highly contested for that set?
Drogoz has been important for Andrew Doodle for a long time. But so has Willow. And Willow has actually been a nice little piece for him to have. I don't mind him playing either. I think Drogoz is less important than it is in North America. It doesn't seem the only reason why things win. I think a lot of the point fight is why a lot of the European teams win, because of the patience, because of the less risks that we see taken, the less champion diversity that we see. It tends to roll with the Inara. You know what I mean? I think more than with the Drogoz. But I think if anything, any team can have it, not give away too much, they'd be very happy to have it on one of their carries.
Definitely happy to have it. I wonder how FNATIC approaches these matchups personally. Are they looking to use these to test run new things to then take against Na'Vi or NIP, right, to keep in that spot? And I think they are that far ahead where they can sort of try out new stuff. But letting out this power pick go, especially given how strong it is for Doodle, and especially given that honestly, like, the chance that Mouse Sports has is within Doodle, right? He has to pop off.
Within the Doodle.
Within the Doodle. If they want to succeed, they need only look in the dudes.
Into the Doodle.
So we always end up highlighting, the carries, and I think Andrew Doodle is going to play a big part of this. But one of the things that has made FNATIC so successful in the past, one of the things we've always commented on, is that when the meta shifted over to having a solo frontline, Theo was perfect at it. Bees, as well, was one of the ones that they made it look good on Mouse, but it was just never enough, like you said, to actually capture a full game. They could get a point, they could maybe even keep it up to 4-3, but it was never going to be enough to actually fully take their own set. And even throwing Elvenpath into the mix, do you think that the frontline matchups through these sets is going to be just as important, or does it really fall down to the carries?
Well, Bees used to play, he kind of came in as like the Ashe Fernando guy, and then I think adapted and took in Terminus.
Yeah.
I never want to see another Terminus from him again. I want to see him go back to the Ashe Fernando style with this Mouse Sports roster personally. I don't think they found any success, and I don't think a team near the bottom of the standings will ever find success using an Inara and using a sort of like absorb defensive strategy like Na'Vi can execute. I don't think Mouse or VP will ever succeed against Fanatics and Na'Vis with that strategy.
And what he's saying is something that we talked about earlier, Gore. It's this idea that when you are taking from a meta that already works, and it works because the top teams did it. If you're not the top teams, you're basically doing a budget version of what they're doing, because you're basically just saying, same meta, but let's just pit our players against one another. And I'm sorry, there aren't a lot of people. It's not Mouse Sports' a Virtus Pro problem. It's a world problem in Paladins. Not a lot of people can match up to the 5 that FNATIC have and that Na'Vi have. So if you're doing the exact same thing, you most likely will lose, just because they have more consistent, more veteran players on a whole than most others who have their roster.
I think the best way to echo your thoughts as well as go into the next question is to just echo what you said earlier, that it'd be kind of disrespectful right now to assume that FNATIC would lose either of these
disrespectful.
Disrespect. What can Mouse or VP do today that will count as a win for them? If they can't win a set, what can they do that at least is like, man, at least we were able to do that against FNATIC?
And, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like a loss is a loss. These teams in Europe don't feel very good when they lose. I wouldn't if I lost. I'd say there's a lot to work on. What would make me feel better is if I won a game. I'd feel good about winning a game. I don't think I'd feel good about winning a couple of points. But in the end of the day, I think that Virtus Pro and Mouse Sports are both aware, as we are, of how good FNATIC are. I don't think they expect to win. I think they're hoping for good play. And at the end of the day, if they have scrims and they have a plan, and if they at least execute it to a place where they say, we know what we did wrong, we could do it better next week, that should be a win for them as a team.
Yeah, I think basically just reiterating what I said a little bit earlier, against that Na'Vi, I think Mouse had those moments. So if they get a draft that's supposed to win because they have better aggressive front lines and FNATIC run that's just this 1-point frontliner or something, for instance, I think if they have a stronger draft that is supposed to be better at getting pressure or forcing out control of the back line for FNATIC, and they do that, they may not need to win the game, but as long as they are doing at some point in the game what their draft was designed to execute upon, what their draft was designed to be successful at, versus on paper what FNATIC have drafted, I think that can call that a win.
Yeah.
Well, we already kind of have a hunch as to what FNATIC's probably feeling going into today, but we did get to sit down with Elvenpath from Virtus Pro to be able to talk to him about today's set, what it means to them, and what exactly he expects.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. Alan Hold Shift, Donna Fria with you, and I'm joined from across the world, essentially, with Elvenpath from Virtus Pro. And we've got a pretty stark matchup here with this new Virtus Pro roster going up against a formidable FNATIC. So, Elvenpath, first and foremost, how do you feel about the growth that you guys had last week going up against the two opponents you faced versus going into the tough opponent of FNATIC this week?
Hello. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't think that 1 week is a decent amount of time to actually be talking about some considerable changes or some considerable growth. But we're doing our best. We are investing a lot of time into practicing, and I don't know how we are feeling about going into FNATIC. I guess the same way we were feeling about going into Navi week 1. We just need to play as good as we can at this moment and see what happens with that.
Now, of course, you have experience playing with Perdo and Sheepa in the past, so coming back together, does this feel more like a reunion of times of old, or does this still feel pretty brand new?
Well, despite us having two brand new players, Cyrus and Nino, it definitely feels like we're currently running at 60% of D69. And it's true, it's as a matter of fact it is. We are 60% of D69, and it was very exciting for both me and them to actually start playing together, because a lot of things passed, and a lot of things happened, and a lot of time has passed, and we've all changed as people, as players, and stuff like that. So while we are kind of like brand new people, brand new players, brand new team, at the same time there is still this old D69-ish feeling, and it's really exciting.
We definitely have seen at least those core three. That synergy still feels like it's there. And again, that was one of the big riding components of D69 during your guys' domination, a little over a year ago now, before the PPL came into place. So do you feel like with these new two additions, this might be an even more elevated instance of the previous D69 roster? Can we expect you guys to be at the very top by the end of the year?
This is definitely our goal, to be at the very top by the end of the year, but I don't know if you should expect it or not. Again, we will be trying our best to make it happen, but obviously we can't compare the game now and the game back then, because the amount of competition is just way different. So there is it is now much harder. Obviously the game got much harder, it evolved greatly, so we'll be just trying our best, and we'll see if we can reach to the top. But that, of course, ultimately is our goal, even though we're only 60% of the 69 right now.
Well, hopefully you guys could get up to that 100% confidence level at the least. A lot of good looks versus Navi. I wish you guys the best of luck versus FNATIC. You know you got a fan on my side of the table, at least. That's all I can say. I don't want to get too biased, but best of luck. Thanks so much for joining us, and again, good luck in the battlefield. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Hey guys, and welcome to the PPL first matchup of the day, ready to get going. My name is Pretty Hair, though. That's Gormizer. We're going to be bringing it to you. And we just had that little interview, of course, with Elvenpath. And, he gets a bit of a reputation, I think, for being maybe a little bit of a bad guy for kicking people and bringing new people in. But I love hearing the genuine excitement in his voice to have his old teammates back, guys that he knows, has probably a lot of respect and trust for.
I also think it's been interesting because what we used to see, I feel like every time we saw Elvenpath, it was always like this very stoic face.
Yeah.
And like the interviews lately, he's been smiling. He's
just a
excited,
blunt
like you said.
guy, yeah.
He feels different, I think, than what we've seen in the past. I think he expects a lot out of this team, and honestly, I kind of do too.
Another thing that I think I give him a lot of credit for is back in the day, right? It was him, D69 and Burrito. Those were the teams. Those were the guys that were winning absolutely everything, kind of going back and forth. But he was still kind of humble, like in those victories. He was basically saying, this is great. I love winning. It's awesome, but it's just not very competitive right now. And I recognize that. And I think now it's good that he has that perspective now on how competitive the Premier League has grown in the international scene at these events. Speaking of international events, HRX is just around the corner. That's what these guys are playing for right now for the qualifying phase. Getting their buys, getting in the placement rounds. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be a very long event. November 16th through the 18th is the big days you want to be there for. HighResExpo.com. That's where you can grab your tickets. And it doesn't stop there, Gormizer. There's a little something special after the event as well.
And it's, the after party. Everything that comes through. It's a fun place, great venue, good drinks, Great venue, laser tag, bowling, a lot of fun stuff, and arcade really just to have fun. Of course,
like a ropes course thing that
yeah.
hangs from the
That's
ceiling.
so
It's
fun.
like this really cool place. I had never really seen one of those before coming to the after party, and some of my favorite memories from the past couple of years. I think this will be my third one. It can be tough to remember those after parties at times, but it's a blast, man. I gotta say, I have a lot of fun every year. I absolutely look forward to that.
And it's one of those things, during the event, you can always see the players, you can see us.
Yeah,
but
the players,
you never know when we're working. At the
casters.
after party, we are absolutely not working.
Yeah.
We're so done with work
Yeah.
at that point that we just want to relax. So that's also a good way to be able to hang out with people and
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
catch them maybe off
Right.
guard, but when they're
right, like the
relaxed.
players are relaxed a little, hopefully
Yeah.
not sad after a loss, or maybe just trying to drink
Looking
away
at you,
those
FNATIC.
sorrows, celebrating a win. Everyone's ready to have fun, and I think that's where you can make that connection with a lot of those players that you're looking forward to meeting, or God forbid, one of us around here in the crew. Guys, let's go ahead and get into this set, though. FNATIC versus Virtus Pro. Here are the standings for North America as well as Europe. Undefeated teams in both regions, Envy and Na'Vi, up at the top. And it's kind of funny. We had this on our docket for the pre-show, but we never really touched on it. The sort of, I guess, static nature of the teams and the placements right now. Back in the day, it was all G2 and SK in North America. It was all what is pretty much the NIP roster versus what is pretty much the FNATIC roster back in the day. Those guys would just go back and forth. Envy was third place, Na'Vi was third place, and now both of the third places have superseded both of the top two dogs and put themselves at the top of their respective regions. Guys, it's really kind of cool to watch, and a lot of times the regions will do sort of that mirror and match thing.
That's why this set, or these sets, are going to be so interesting to me. It's going to be able to bring FNATIC probably back up to their second place spot right now, sitting just behind NIP. But they do actually have to make it through Virtus Pro and Mouse first, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I think because of the way these teams have grown, it might make a difference, especially if you end up going to these icy maps, some places where it's going to be a little bit different than what we have seen typically out of your Bright Marsh or Jag Falls that we always end up going to.
I love Frozen Guard, though. I gotta say, this is like the fringe map that I enjoy watching, because it feels like, people, they have their strategy when they come here. I like watching the Timbermill as well. My favorite game of the fall split so far was that Timbermill game with Snow Glow BB. How could it not be? There was so much happening there. The bans, it's going to be both snipers as well as a couple of aggressive front lines, Ash and Khan. Makoa will be the first pick for VP. We talked about Drogos being a big pick this set, but so far, no Drogo.
I'm wondering if VP are going to go
Drogo's
for
a no-go, you
healer.
might say.
No, they actually go for Victor over Drogos as well. So that is something I didn't expect, and I'm actually curious if this hit scan presence might make FNATIC fall away from going for the Drogos, or if because they have Leon, they know that it's not going to be as bad if they have to go against Victor, if that's still something they want to scoop up.
Well, look at the characters that are being picked. The Victor, he's probably going burst mode. Look at the Leon, the Cassie, everyone that's effective from range. The snipers are banned out for a reason. It's Frozen Guard, right? Drogos isn't going to be super successful on maps with incredibly long lines of sights when his characters, his counters are more successful just by proxy of where they are on the map.
Zen closes it out. Furia picked up. Makoa, having made it through, I think is going to be a big swing vote over for Virtus Pro. And this Ruckus is something I want to look at because I'm curious as to who's going to be playing it. Bittner in the past has been the one who has done it, but we've also seen a couple of these teams, especially when you have a star player like that, when they play the Ruckus, it just doesn't feel as impactful as some of their other champions.
I hear you, but we talked a little bit about, and I asked the question of, would FNATIC use this as a bit of a testing grounds for some sort of strategy? Now, the one thing that Na'Vi has always done better than FNATIC is the double frontline compositions. I'm not saying that FNATIC need to run the same two front lines as Na'Vi like to run, but maybe dabbling around with a little bit more of a tanky composition could be something that benefits FNATIC in the long run, and it will be Tenor on that off tank. Also notable is that Bugsy used to fill that role. In the past, this would have been absolutely Tenor on the Cassie.
And this actually opens up not only watching Bittner being able to expand his champion pool, but also FNATIC in general. Part of the reason that they've been so strong this year was because of the shift to a solo frontline. So if they can pick up this double frontline that every other team seems to run just slightly better than them, then I think they can make the difference. And this is, like you said, a really good proving ground for it, because Virtus Pro is one of those teams that has been running this forever.
Ooh, and Tenor running lower and lower on HP. He will be first-blooded. Peridot drops him to the ground on the Victor. Theo Rocket bootsing away as well. FNATIC maintaining control of the wall here, but the point is all VP. They've got the Inar. They're getting the kills to boot, Goremizer. It's 81% on the objective, and the fight is going Virtus Pro's way. Theo tries to get in there and drop a turret, but it looks like it's going to be a 100-0 capture for Virtus Pro.
And I want to say that this is what Virtus Pro want. If you're planning on going to Frozen Guard, right, you get a good draft. This is exactly how you want it to go. But there's no real strategy behind it, as much as FNATIC just weren't there. They were never present. When they finally go in, they're going in one at a time. They're all hanging out on the wall, and it just makes it nice, easy, open, clean for Virtus Pro. They send the Inara to stand over there. They give her a good healer, and there was not a single drop from Virtus Pro that made FNATIC even have a chance at getting in.
Not a drop of Virtus Pro blood so far this game. The payload running into a little bit of resistance. We don't really ever see people try and put up much of a fight here out in the open, to be honest. Normally it'll happen under the underpass. Fasheko gets to the backline with Tenor, but it doesn't matter. Ninu, one of the newest members of Virtus Pro on the Xin, making it work on a champion that can be difficult to pull off on a map, like we said earlier, that has so much range.
That healing coming through for Leon. Fasheko going to be getting it just in time every single step of that fight. Ninu, if he had been able to get a little bit more aggressive, if he had been less timid about it, I think he would have been able to get the kill. As of right now, it's been left to Elvenpath, who's still having a little bit of trouble. Perdo going to be able to come help clean up. But like you said, this is an unorthodox spot to be the defending, but they've bought so much time from FNATIC just getting this aggressive.
So, FNATIC been trying a couple of new things here. Elvenpath working very well with his support as well. We talk about the solar beam, how important that is to be on the same page as your support, catching and not missing every single one of those, because it's such a big healing cooldown.
With a minute left, and this is actually typically where things start to shift in favor of FNATIC, especially with how many long-range champions they have to be able to defend this, but the payload's just inching forward. No one's really jumping down to stop it. There's not a lot of kills. Elvenpath is sitting here at full health, and no one is looking at him right now. I think they're waiting for him to jump into the base, but with Ancient Rage available, it could make a big difference in terms of whether or not this gets pushed in.
Bugsy manages to find one answer back onto Virtus Pro. Finally, Perdo will fall. Tenor firing away on the objective. Ancient Rage was ready, but Elvenpath elected not to use it. Bugsy falling low and lower as well, below 200 HP. Gara's extremely low. Getting, oh my goodness, Nino with the double slash, the Yomi slice. The final strike of the hit train penetrates as many targets as you put in front of it. And Ninu finds a 2-for-1 special. 7 and 2 on the Xin to go up 2-0 over FNATIC. What is happening?
I was genuinely thinking the same thing. I mean,
whose
Bitner's
map pick
0
is
and
this?
5.
I need to know whose map pick
Theo
this
is 0-3-0. Theo has not gotten to have part of any kill. And because it is a Virtus Pro map pick, as we're now finding out, it makes sense that they would be able to have the control, but I genuinely don't think anyone could choose a map and then make FNATIC go down 2-0 on it. I've not seen that except maybe from Na'Vi.
Wow. And Frozen Guard is a bit of a fringe pick, right? It's not something you're normally going to see in a best-of-5 matchup, maybe in those best-of-7s. If we get towards Game 6, Game 7, you might start to expect it. A little bit of a different approach this time. The Inflame comes out. Point control not really going to anyone just yet. Virtus Pro want to take the fight to FNATIC.
Being able to drop the barrage grenade, going to be good and thrown in, but Bittner is the one looping around, and that's going to be a kill onto Seretz, and that gets rid of the Furia. That gives him a complete control, but Ninu's still picking up kills. Does go down, though. Theo about to fall down, and that's going to be both front lines on the side of FNATIC taken out.
Perdo just ripping people this entire fight. A lot of clones set up for Fasheko to work around. Gara and Leon are going to do their best to bring this one back with all the support from the Ying. I think Fasheko, despite only 2200 HP on Leon, he is able to bully Makoa out of the point objective fight. Remember, comeback mechanic for FNATIC, but nobody really in any sort of position to lead at the moment.
How many times have you gotten to say that phrase? Comeback mechanic for FNATIC. It's not something that you get to utter as often. I maybe relish in it if it weren't for the fact that it looks like they're having a little bit of a tough time trying to approach this, being able to get aggressive. Bittner, if he can take out Perdo here, should make this a lot easier for him, and the rocket launcher about to come right back up. And Perdo just forgets about him. There's going to be a good hook, but it really doesn't matter. He got his job done.
Elvenpath's been doing a pretty phenomenal job of giving peel to his teammates as well as playing around Seretz's support. He's eaten so many of these beams. He is an absolute force. FNATIC, though, they sneak away the objective under the noses of the VP front line. And is this the start to the comeback? The healing far in favor of Furia. You expect that a little bit just because Inara is on her squad, but Ying has been able to put up some incredible numbers in the past.
And Ying, at this point, a lot of that healing, I would say, is a little bit more effective overall. A lot of the small fights that have been seemingly 1v1 have been facilitated by Ying, just slightly off in the distance, being able to hit that life exchange heal just a little further out. And as long as you can continue this kind of upward trend for FNATIC, they're feeling a lot better. There was some distraction going on around the point. They were pulling Virtus.pro away. They were distracting him with the fight, as opposed to what Virtus.pro is known for, which is usually just focusing on the objective.
Trying to break this overpass. This is where, when we talk about this a little bit in the first round, this is where the first real defensive effort is normally put up, just because look at all the cover you've got. Line of sight breaks, tunnels, flank routes, that sort of thing. Versus out in the open, and look at this 1v1, Bugsy and Sheepa. Bugsy gets his roll reset there, but it is not even close to enough to take down the big bad bully that is Inara.
At least being able to get rid of the Cassie is going to alleviate a ton of pressure. There's still going to be Leon to worry about, still the ruckus. That's going to cause a little bit of ruckus, but overall they're going to get pushed back. And like you had said, pretty much from the capture point to this is the easiest push you're going to have on, I think, any map. It's not usually going to be stalled inside of the capture point on Frozen Guard, but this archway to the base is probably the hardest push you are going to experience on some of these maps, just because there is so much open room. If you have a very good draft for your base, it is very difficult to sit out in the open the way the or the payload expects you to and not take a ton of damage.
There it is, Nina with another double kill. We got to talk about this guy. I mean, the newest member, you know, really no PPL experience prior, and that's why you got to say the newest, right? Because Sheepa and Peridot, goddamn, they've been doing it longer than just about anyone in the business. For this guy to come in against FNATIC with Xin on Frozen Guard, not exact, and with no Genos, right? No, his healer is definitely focused on Elvenpath more than him. This guy is a literal lone wolf out there in the frozen fields of battle, and he is really doing an incredible job with this character.
And in the past couple sets from Virtus.pro, to me, there hasn't been anything really loud about him, right? Nino has been kind of overcast by Peridot and Sheepa having joined this, Elvenpath being able to play.
Look at him go!
But then you get moments like this where he just walks up behind you, he kills two of you, he's about to get a third if Peridot hadn't taken it, and FNATIC just don't seem to know what to do against him.
What's his KD? He was like 7-2 going into this round. My man's this right here. I'm surprised they got this replay so fast. Holy crap. I mean, he is definitely, you know, he's doing everything right with his character. He's playing Yomi beautifully. That was that the same? Is that what I'm thinking of? That wasn't the exact same replay from like 2 seconds ago, but either way, he's been holding down that little mine area. He goes from 7-2 to 12-4. Another great round for Nino, sitting at 12-4-3 overall, about middle of the pack of damage. But that's what you expect from a character with the effective range of Xin on Frozen Guard.
Well, once again, going into this, FNATIC will have the comeback mechanic. 3-7 right now is Bugsy. 3-9 is Bittner. Two of the people who I don't think I have seen negative pretty much at all in the past. They are usually carrying, they are usually able to stay at least even, so this is such a big impact coming down from Ninu, coming down from Peridot as well, who's 6-2, making sure that those two cannot be effective.
And that's what's surprising. 6-2 for Peridot. Normally he's the best target for Tenor to be diving on, and that's the type of success, that's how he was being a force with Ruckus in his last appearance on the champion, but he just hasn't been able to do that, and I think it's because of Elvenpath, honestly, the peel that he's been able to have with this Makoa. Gets under the Solar Blessing from Furia, but just so much cauterized Gormizer, it doesn't really do much for him. The hook is just out of range for Bugsy as well. Peridot salvages this fight. That was not going very well for Virtus.pro, but they're still managing to bring it back. This is a 3-1 lead. Gormizer, Virtus.pro might have what it takes to put FNATIC down in game one.
I mean, if they can keep this up, Thiel is really the only one who could get in, and he doesn't even get to touch.
There it is. Clapped. Easy clap in the chat, I guess. 4 for 1 on Frozen Guard. That was Virtus.pro's map pick. Like we said, it's a bit of a fringe pick. It's the one that they feel strongest on, but all power to them. I mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. They looked great.
Maybe FNATIC is just really, really bad at map ones. Because this, I mean, that's the same kind of thing that happened with NIP, right? They get the first map, and then it turned around. Maybe FNATIC will look a little worse or a little better coming to the next ones, but I'm really curious about it. I mean, looking again at the carries, you have Bugsy hitting 50,000. He was just slightly above some of the rest of his team, and that's not a place for a Cassie to be.
It's really, really rough. 3-10, 3-8. 2 and 7, not great slash lines there. Ninu 13 and 4. That's what I really want to harp on here, man. That's you look at, he had about the same damage as Bugsy, right? He's got roughly the same effective range, if not less than a Cassie on Frozen Guard. He's got no real support. Honestly, it was this Furia defending or keeping this Makoa alive so he could peel for Perdo, who was also 6 and 2, had a great game as well. But I just really felt like that comp didn't really have a lot of focus on the Xin, and he still was incredibly successful.
And it was moments like this, like you said, immediately you get the hook onto Bittner to stop him from being able to aggress him.
That's what it is.
And as long as you have that little bit of peel, Bittner's job was try to take care of the Victor, and he never really got to do it cleanly. I think he had one moment where he got that kill. So half of Perdo's deaths
I remember
were
that, yeah.
one clean moment when Bittner actually makes it into the back line, but otherwise it was this range. He's looking somewhere else, and Perdo is just able to lay into him with that burst.
They just weren't able to get him isolated. I mean, I think he played incredible. Especially for Victor, so much damage, very effective KD. Big shout outs to Elvin, big shout outs to Ninu. I think they were really the stars of that game. Nice moves from Perdo as well. It's not easy to operate on Perdo, or excuse me, on Victor, but Perdo has been doing it for so long. This is such an old school character. He's such an old school player at this point. And Frozen Guard, before all the maps got kind of split up into thirds and made their own, and when they were all just massive maps you could mount up whenever you want, Frozen Guard was one of those like old school maps that Perdo has probably played just about as much, or not, if not more, than any of these other map sets in the game.
One of the few players who well actually maybe not the few, but who remembers having to escort the payload to just destroy a base, as opposed to being able to just
back when
disappear.
Siege meant something.
when Siege was literally
when you were
a siege.
destroying something with a big payload cannon thing. I don't know. I can't really remember. I think it was a cannon,
It was
right?
fun.
It
There
was
were,
like this
there
big
were
mounted cannon.
Yeah, a lot of interesting moments with that.
All right. Well, that's going to be game number 1. That was VP's map pick. I have to imagine this is Fnatic's map pick. They're going to be the first pick as well, and it will be. Ascension Peak has been selected by the boys in black and orange. Andro banned away. I don't think we've had the chance to see Perdo's Andro yet.
I don't think so
I don't really, it doesn't come to mind. One sniper banned out. Khan will stay banned. Makoa banned out this time. They don't want to let Fnatic have it. Ashe is open and available. This is the map I think we've seen her probably near mostly on since her kind of resurgence in the meta. But despite that, Leon will be first picked.
Drogo is finally going to be coming through. I'm curious if Virtus Pro ban Kinessa, if they want to lean towards Strix. Again, this is one of those maps that Kinessa is going to be a little bit better on than Strix when it comes to performance, just like drawing direct parallels because of her teleport, because of her ability to move up and down onto some of those ledges and to get out of dodge incredibly fast, versus Strix, who just kind of has to hope you don't know where he's going once he turns invisible.
Yeah. And the Ashe will be selected here. I have to imagine that's for Elvenpath. Furia taken by Fnatic, so little changes happening here and there. Furia Ying seem to be the preferred supports here for VP and Fnatic. They're going to grab the Willow. I'm liking the way Fnatic's draft is shaping up here. They have an absolute ton of innate anti-heal.
And it feels a lot more Fnatic-y, I guess is the best way to describe it. This is something that I could see them running regularly, being able to pick up 3 damage, having Thiel running the Barrack. But my question is whether or not they're feeling confident enough, I guess. This is their map pick, so they are going to know it a little bit better. But because of the rise of Ascension Peak, I feel like it's been showing up a lot more often. I would have to assume that Virtus Pro have been practicing it at least enough to be able to make a difference here.
And the one thing that, I don't know, Fnatic just don't have that guy that's going to be the point frontliner, you know what I mean? They don't have that guy that's going to play Anara. They don't have that guy that's going to sit there on the objective so Thiel can go play Ashe or play an aggressive Fernando. You know, I don't know. I feel like it might just always be this way for Fnatic. These guys have always been high frag, and they basically invented the 3 DPS composition. It's worked out well for them online. Oh, man, I don't know, Gore.
I feel like in the past,
might just
Flex
be who they are.
Has always been like, you can play a healer or a damage, right? That's where your flex is, so that maybe we can pull our support off of support and they play maybe something a little bit heavier. There's not as many people, I think, who can jump from damage to frontline. It's a little bit of a different, I mean, because it's a completely different mindset. Being able to come in, recognize that your positioning has to be different, where you're putting your aggression has to be different. And so it's no big surprise to me, I guess, that Fnatic don't have someone who is ready to take over that role, but because they don't, I feel like that's where Thiel has so much pressure put onto him to perform even more so.
You got guys like Kliku, you got guys like, you know, Tolki, Phoenix
Yes.
as well that can do it. Maybe that's what makes them so special for their teams. Ascension Peak, though, very difficult to capture. Bittner smells blood in the water. He knows how low Perdo is, but he sees the heals starting to come through and just has to give it up. Look at Ninu as well. Everyone's starting to fall lower and lower here. The question is, can Surets keep them up?
So far, so good as far as Ying healing does go. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because you only have one heal that you can truly aim. The Illusion's doing the rest of the work, but you're going to have to watch FNATIC looking towards the way the heals are dropping down. Are there going to be enough shields? Is there going to be enough beams coming down to keep Thiel alive? And all of it has to be kind of focused on Thiel. He's not looking to the side anywhere near as much. So I'm curious as to whether or not this is going to make a difference. Serret's going to get pushed out. Sheepa going to be left alone.
Tenor gets the first blood on Cassie. He's already popped his ultimate at just under 2 minutes and 15 seconds in. That's incredible. That's a lot of damage that's coming out. That's landing. He's hitting good blast shots. He gets the critical first blood as well. It's an 84% to 27% lead on the objective for FNATIC. Elvenpath is going to shoulder bash in. He's going to die almost immediately after just to get the touch, just to get the overtime started. Sheepa might be able to reset it. He will. Here comes the Victor Barrage. One bullet will be rolled. Fisheko goes up into the air and will deal easily with Pear. Look at how high the skybox is on Ascension Peak. That's got to be the highest one, I think, in the game. That's crazy.
He's soaring.
You could see the
all the way
Pyre
to the
Strike
top.
as well, how high that was. Man, that's wild.
And unfortunately for Virtus Pro, looking up towards the Willow also kind of meant their death. There was not a lot they could do there. Once they lost control, once they got pushed out, and once Sheepa was left kind of isolated there, that was the beginning of the end of that point fight for them. So definitely a lot cleaner this time around from FNATIC, but still not enough to make me sleep on Virtus Pro yet. I've had a lot of question marks about them because of the way they've changed their roster, and it's similar to how I feel about a couple of the other teams that have picked up new players. I think if you give this roster some time, if they don't, you know, reset at the end of the split, I genuinely think you could start contending for the top.
I don't know if they will, you know, because back in the day, great salvo there from Nino, by the way, to pick up that kill. Elvenpath didn't kick those guys from D69.
Yeah.
They lost and they imploded. They wanted to leave. They wanted to switch teams. All of them wanted out. Sheepa and Perdo, I remember talking to them after DreamHack Valencia when they left that squad, and you know they were pissed. They were used to winning. They were used to being successful, and they wanted to get back to that. Damn it! They were saying, you know, we're completely intending on staying competitive. We will do whatever it takes to win. And back then, they thought that was switching to the NIP roster, but ultimately that didn't work out for them either.
At least now finding a home for 3 out of 5 with the way things have sat. Virtus Pro is looking to try and still reclaim that glory. I mean, even Elvenpath last year at this point, I guess a couple months from now it'll be a full year, was winning a LAN with his team. They had a lot to thank, I'd say, from Simsalou, but the entire roster looked incredibly good, and it just hasn't been the same since. And I think that's pretty much been the tale for most of these players, is trying to reclaim that glory, trying to get back up there to be your FNATIC, to be your Na'Vi.
And he did it with the guy that he was just boxing with, Bittner, one of his old teammates from the very first iteration of the Virtus Pro roster. Now they square off against each other. So there's a lot of history between the players on these two teams in particular. Bugsy and Gara as well, a part of that old D69 roster, so they're squaring off. Elvenpath said, you know, we're only 60% of old D69. Well, the other 40% is on the enemy team in this game right now, happening in front of your eyes. And boy, is the underdog ahead at the moment. 1-0 FNATIC slow going on this offense as well. Last 10 seconds on the clock here. And they still have a little bit of a ways to go up the hill, the hardest part of the push.
A lot of good damage still coming down from Nino. Okay salvo, but it's going to be taken up by most of the dome shield that's been dropped, although that's going to be 2 ults dropped from FNATIC trying to find this final push. Overtime's going to be going, but do they actually have what they need? Thiel is getting pressured out.
Sheepa throws up the wall here. It's weathering the storm, right? Look at the spawn. Not only do you come out onto your nice terrace, on your nice balcony, you've got a spawn door right behind you that is not only going to heal you back up, but it's going to prevent any further damage. I mean, it is tough to siege down these Ascension Peak spawn bases. It is very, very difficult to crack. Here's the critical first blood, though. That burst damage from Cassie still so lethal.
All I can think right now is that Elvenpath has a very good history of, even though they end up leaving, getting to a competitive level with other incredibly good players. Like Bidner has been phenomenal to the point where if he has an average game, everyone thinks, oh man, is this the end of Bidner? Like, he just is so well performing in history. And the same thing I think goes for Bugsy. Bugsy to me is one of the better players just in the world because of his flexibility. I think that makes the difference for FNATIC. One of the things that's always been really strong is that he is that kind of guy who can then say, okay, well, I guess I'll play a frontline this time around. I'll pick up the Khan. I'll pick up your Ashe if you really need me to. But he does so well as well on these carries.
He does do very well on a lot of things. And I mean, it's an objective fact. Statistically, objectively, whatever word you want to use, Bugsy is the most flexible player in professional Paladins. And the success that he can have on those characters as well is what makes him so special. It's what makes FNATIC so special. But it's all VP in the kill feed at the moment. A couple of old D69 members killing each other. Elvenpath slays Gera. And Peridot laying down the covering fire from the distance. Beautiful zoning. This is something that FNATIC really didn't do quite as aggressively. And I think we're going to get even more aggressive. The barrage shell, incredible that he just had a sliver of a moment, a small opportunity to actually lock that down onto Bugsy. He gets it, but Tenor gives it right back with a nice disengage off the map.
Sometimes you want voice comms, but I feel like a mic on the mouse at that point would have been really good because he had to be spamming the click.
Yeah.
Normally, if you miss any of those shots, or if you don't if you don't actually hit it, you retain up to 60%. But if they can keep getting this pressure, that's 99%. Drogos finds another killer. At least Sheepa cleans it up after Nunu puts all the damage down. And like you said, a very aggressive but effective zone coming down from Virtus Pro awards them a point.
FNATIC are playing pretty viciously right now. Like Bugsy, he got in there, landed a nice little enlightenment, restarted the overtime. Tenor is taking these duels with Ashe that they don't look very winnable to me, but it just doesn't matter. Bidner wants to get in here, and I think he wants to redeem himself from game number 1. I mean, he's having a great game now on Cassie. He had a doo-doo game on Ruckus, and we talked about that, right? In times past, it would have been Bugsy on Ruckus. It would have been Tenor on Cassie. You see why. He gets the quadra kill as Sheepa drops to the reset off the map. This is why he's playing those hyper carry roles. I mean, look at the kid go.
Elvenpath on Ashe looking to try and get some cheeky knockoff.
The hell?
He actually gets the kill!
Oh my goodness!
Jarrett's still going to be able to walk away. Bidner trying their best, but Fasheko does get taken down, so it's going to be a temporary, I guess, 4v4 because of that trade. Elvenpath was just trying to be able to knock people off, cause some disruption back there, but the big question is still going to be on the payload and whether or not FNATIC can find a better or at least closer defense than Virtus Pro.
That's too funny. And look at Tenor. He was trying to get that heat. If he was a little bit more patient, I don't know if patience is the right word, but if he checked that doorway and, you know, popped off a little bit sooner, he would have actually caught Peridot pretty much right in the face. So really good job at just recognizing how this map is played. And Ascension Peak is, I think, being more and more figured out every time we see it. People get, I think, a little bit more confident playing with the angles, you know what I mean? Like the disengages we've seen this week. People are starting to find a couple of cheeky little things to do here.
And Bidner feels absolutely safe. I mean, he's just been sitting over in this area, free-firing essentially onto Virtus Pro. Every now and then a couple of shots come right back at him, but he just finds a kill, he backs off. He finds a kill, he backs off. If he doesn't get the kill, he at least gets half of their health bar, and that's forcing his team to focus so much. And right there, again, almost another one to be picked up. That payload, even though it's been moving so slightly, Virtus Pro really haven't been able to confidently put themselves forward.
How much damage did he just do sitting there? How many shots did he just hit? He was about dead even with Peridot. Now he's about 20,000 damage ahead of him. So Tenor is locking it down this right side quarter. No one goes in. No one goes out. 6 seconds on the clock now for VP to make magic happen. Can they convert again against FNATIC in overtime?
Already popped the Ingle. There's the barrage to come through, but it's not going to be finding anywhere near as much. The kill on the Thiel is going to be big, but Peridot falls as well. They're going to have to be able to set a lot more bodies onto this with Sheepa. Elvenpath not getting the healing they need. They're going to go down, and that honestly should kill it.
Bugsy laser focused right there. It's great that he didn't get any return pressure on him, so he was able to hit basically all of those shots. I think he maybe missed one. He gets both kills onto the front lines, and it's very important for Leon, right? Because she's applying that 90% anti-heal. That's an Inara. That's an Ashe. Those are two characters that without that 90% anti-heal, they're probably not getting dropped. Skirt.
That last one was kind of given to him.
Yeah.
And I'll admit it. You know, if it's a Penta, I think I give you full credit no matter what. That last one was kind of given to you. But still, 10-4, sitting up at the top. I mean, he's already almost doubled Bugsy's damage from the entirety of the last game.
Pretty crazy. Definitely a step up for FNATIC. It's a return to form, though. I mean, this is the composition that you expect from them. This is what you think they're going to succeed with. A lot of Rejuvenate starting to come out here. FNATIC moving into the more luxury buys, if you will, as they have so much of their core items inbuilt into their kit. I mean, you got Kinetics from Cass, you got Death and Taxes from Leon, and you got Dead Zone for Willow, so they don't need to buy a lot of Cauterize.
They can instead focus on any other disruptions they might want, although because of the way things are going, they might need to just be focusing on trying to get rid of the Drogos. Once he goes down, Ninu, Elvenpath, Sheepa, all 4 members, everyone save for Perdo, get taken down. Virtus Pro, I mean, it's been just going back and forth on the point fight.
Looks like they figured it out, though. I mean, FNATIC have looked pretty solid. VP, I don't think they're going to have really anything to say about this one. 99. 100-0, 3-2 on the board now. FNATIC could push this one through. And, ooh, girl, you know Penner had to get him back for that one. Elvenpath goes off the edge of the map. This could be the end of the game if FNATIC are able to convert. But VP have been putting up a stellar defense.
That's where we see this map make a big difference. And honestly, 4-3, normally I would say because it's FNATIC's map pick, the fact that if it goes to a 4-2, 4-3, no matter what, I'd say that's a big compliment to Virtus Pro, and I still think it is, but this is a map that it is a little bit easier to defend. Like you had said earlier, you pretty much respawn right into the perfect way to defend the final point. You have a balcony where you can use cover, a door right behind you that will block damage and heal you. So as long as you aren't messing around too much, you should find a defense, at least at the tail end. But the question is, I mean, with 1 minute and 40 seconds, can you block it for that long? That is what Virtus Pro have to answer, and if they can, they're going to have to start looking at that next point as the necessity. They have to get that if they want to find themselves up 2-0.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a bit of an old statistic. I haven't checked on it in a while, but Ascension Peak was at one point the lowest statistical conversion map, like the conversion rate, people able to successfully push payloads all the way home was very low. Splitstone is another one of those maps that was very low. Obviously, I can't remember. I don't know why I have why I want to say that despite its reputation, Ice Mines actually had a fairly high conversion rate.
I feel like it is one that when you have a competitive team, and I think the higher up you get, so the higher in rank you are and things like that, Ice Mines and Frozen Guard will more than likely hit that area, but I feel like casually it's not too difficult. It's very easy to break down that base sometimes.
Yeah, it's not as well designed, right? Like the spawn doors are far away. You can't. You can only re-access one of them that is off to the side in a bit of an awkward spot. Versus like, look at the base doors on Ascension Peak, right? Look at the base doors on Splitstone Quarry. Those are in the fight basically. You just come out and you've got line of sight on enemies. Tenor needs some trouble. Here comes the grenade from Perdo. He's looking for the frag. Here's the inflame as well. If Tenor goes undetected here, he's going to do a lot of damage to this VP front line. The Dragon Punch comes ripping in. I don't know why I feel like that's the first Dragon Punch I've seen all game.
I've seen a couple, but they just haven't been as impactful. Always on to Thiel, but this is going to be the big question. No one is standing on the payload right now from Virtus Pro. They need to be able to get there.
You called it.
They were all just inches.
Right. Not where
they just
needed
to be there.
Remember where they were supposed to be? Yeah, they weren't there.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up. I mean, wow. It's a game of inches sometimes, and the front line crumbling a little bit too soon there. Cute little disengage as well, and the payload rides home. Fishy and Tenor, 111 and 104,000 damage. Great stuff there. And while not competing on the damage charts necessarily, Bugsy's still 6-3. That Hypercare Leon roll. I think a lot of Bugsy's job there is to shoot front lines and keep them anti-healed there, so maybe not getting as many of those killing blows, as well as Leon just not quite as bursty as Impulse Cassie and Nightshade Willow.
There was a lot of just, like you said, apply Cauterize, whereas then you would have Bittner come in and clean people up, although sometimes he didn't really need the help. Sometimes he just found it on his own. There was a lot there, again, that you could see when we were talking about even just the last game. Why is Bittner the one on Ruckus when he can play Cassie like that? Bugsy was having, I want to say, an uncharacteristic game on his Cassie, but this was just clean the entire time.
And there's a balance, right? I like to give credit to the team that's winning, right? Anytime there's a team that's winning 4-0, 4-1, obviously the other team's slash lines are looking like crap. Not necessarily because they're playing poorly. Maybe the other team is just giving them the business, and that's the way that it shakes out. Like this time, for instance, not a lot of glaring mistakes, right? But just incredible stuff. Combos are hitting. The shots are just really, really dialed in for Tenor. And this is that 1v1. Like, right? He rolls in on that Ashe at 150 HP. Fisheko's right there. He would have cleaned it up in another 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But looking like he had something to prove this game, I think, is what I saw from his Bittner.
Being able to pick up a quadra kill in the process as well, so he is going to be feeling good about it. And I think confidence there for FNATIC, not only being able to win their map, although I will say there were some shaky moments in it, because Virtus.pro, the capture point, the point they do capture, is when it is tied. So they didn't have comeback mechanic, it was just one fight that goes in their favor. And if they can keep converting that on maps like Jaguar Falls, it's a little bit easier, I think, overall, to turn this into a 4-3, but still win as Virtus.pro.
Well, we are in a loser's pick now, so VP have selected to go to Jaguar Falls. They will be first pick as well. Drogoz banned out. Khan has been banned out. Makoa was banned out as well. We'll have to see if that remains the theme here. Both of these teams definitely like their Khan. I would say FNATIC probably a little bit more than VP. And the Inara ban. I like seeing Inara bans. She's such a high priority champion, especially for Na'Vi. I'm surprised we don't see a little bit more of it.
I was actually discussing this with Tom earlier, F. For anyone who might know him, was just who are the top champions in Paladins. It's like, well, when it comes to drafting it, honestly, the front lines are usually your most important. And then you start seeing right now Androxus, Drogoz, Willow, Cassie's always up there. But for the most part, it does come down to Makoa, Khan. You always want your Inara. If you get Inara, you want a good healer behind her, so you look for your Furia. And so being able to take care of something like that, you can see it opens up Virtus.pro and FNATIC. They don't really care at this point which front lines they get, although it is going to make a big difference to have the Barrack versus the Ashe. I think he's going to be able to hold the point a little better, whereas Ashe can bully really hard.
I like the way this is shaping up for FNATIC. This feels old school for them. They grab themselves a Genos as well. Barrack's taken away and ours banned out. It's time to go to work. Theo gets his opportunity, I think, to go be aggressive, to get Luminary finally again. And VP, I don't know. I don't like what they've got going on here. I think Andro, I think almost any of these characters with Luminary are going to dominate. I'm a little bit scared for VP here.
Yeah, this is going to be very big. I think the biggest deficit, and this is just the trade-off with Luminary, is you lose some of the healing, but you get that back in damage that you're applying, so you don't have to heal as much because you just kill anyone who would damage you. My question is, for FNATIC, how's this Talus going to work? You're going up against one of the regular Talus players in Elvenpath and Ruckus. So it's going to be interesting. I think Virtus.pro got a very confident draft for them, but if this is Sheepa playing Ruckus, I'm going to pick on it because the other day, it didn't look clean. It didn't look good enough for me to say that is something you need to go to. If he can at least make that look good this game, I think that'll make a big difference.
I mean, you've got three characters, Cassiandro and Talus, with a ton of burst damage. And you're seeing two of them build straight into Wrecker. I mean,
Beautiful.
Ruckus's emitter is, you know, it's 3,000 of his 7,000 effective HP in a fight. Bugsy on Talus, he's already going to have the Antediluvian for his Cauterize, and then he is going to tear this Ruckus apart.
I mean, as long as
Talus is one of like the few guys that can go toe-to-toe with that character.
Especially once he is able to pop that fire at an extended rate, and you can see this is going to be the aggression I expect from Bugsy. And Bugsy, it's been a while, but he used to play Talus quite a bit when he was big in the meta. But Sheepa's actually going to be the one getting first blood. It's going to be against Bittner.
VP are staying clustered for the moment. They're not making anyone an easy target for FNATIC. Bugsy he trips up on the doorway, and that small little window was actually, I think, enough to let Sheepa get the window to take him down. VP, they get planted on the objective, and that is the one thing I think FNATIC really needed to watch out for, because now Barrack is dug in. Ruckus is a mobile Barrack turret that does 1,000 DPS. Tenor tries to float in for the touch. He does so successfully, but how do you look at this nightmare of a gauntlet that anyone from FNATIC would have to run to make it back?
This performance from Sheepa right now is what I was missing the other day. It was one thing, every single time against NIP they picked up the Ruckus, NIP would just demolish, and it feels like FNATIC are a little unsure as to how to approach it. Sheepa already on a 6 streak, and I feel like that is, like you said, just the mobile turret walking around, has perfect cover. He can dash in and out to make sure he's going to be able to get the poke, has a lot of burst in him as well. if played properly. And if they can just keep this kind of pressure up,
Oh,
I mean, this payload, it's going to be difficult to break this corner if FNATIC hold it at the right angle, but they have ults. If they really need to pop them soon enough, they're going to have that Hexafire.
and that's actually something that I've started to really think about when I watch games of Paladins that I haven't really before, is how does this fight look different from round 1 to round 2 when there's ultimates in play? Because some comps just look like doo-doo in round 1,
Yeah.
and then especially comps that I feel like have Khan in it, because Khan ultimate is probably
so
one of the
big.
strongest parts of his kit, if not the strongest part of his kit. And I think, you know, when you come into a round 2 against something like a Khan, you can kind of do whatever you want in that fight, because you just get to take one player and delete them from the game. So that being said, I'm curious to see how this fight plays out in the next round. I think what FNATIC need to focus on is breaking up this sort of, you know, huddle from Virtus.pro, and I think that comes off the back of an assert dominance from Theo.
Potentially even True Power coming down. If Talus can like jump into the back, I think that can make a big difference. But there is so much that I think it's not even just going right. I mean, with the way things are going, I'm looking at like a Cursed Arm. I'm looking at Genos, and this is the big issue with them. FNATIC, they have to stay out of combat if that healing is going to be effective.
They have no CC to set up through time and space. They have assert dominance is probably the best ultimate for FNATIC right now.
Oof.
As VP get the 2-0 lead.
Hard.
Scout, True Power, time and space, Accursed Arm, like those are a lot. Those are all ultimates that may or may not get a kill. And those
Yeah.
are ultimates that I don't really flame you if you don't get kills with those all game long. They're kind of easy to dodge. They're pretty well telegraphed. Given the way that VP is playing currently, if Bugsy True Power's in there, he's going to be immediately focused down. He's going to have to get right on back out. I think it really comes down to Theo. I think if he can break up the huddle and VP gets scattered a little bit, FNATIC, maybe they find some isolated targets, and then they can finally start to play ball.
I mean, you want to make it even harder for you to try and find any of those kills. 4 Haven 2s coming down for
There you
Virtus.pro.
go.
2 members who have not died yet in Sheepa and Serets. So you have a lot of pressure and a lot of control and a lot of no damage being taken. It doesn't really matter who Talus goes for. They're prepared, they're waiting, and that's the Inflame to stop it.
There was an Inflame and a Fade Flight, so I'm not sure who Bugsy was actually targeting.
But either way,
He gets 70% ult charge back for it, so a True Power will happen at some point. Uh-oh, here's what we were looking out for. Sheepa just getting gas pedaled down by Talus. Quick reload, and Bugsy is not going to pursue. Wow.
actually have Sheepa getting aggressive into him. There's going to be the teleport, so that will allow him a
There
quick
it is.
get out if things go wrong with Sheepa. A
Isolated.
little bit too much damage. And still fighting on the same side, honestly, in my opinion. Once you know Talus is over there, maybe you start trading spots with somebody, work your way over, but it doesn't really matter. That's 87% right now on the point. You just have Elvenpath sitting there hanging out.
They have to make a move now, and that was an enlightenment, I think, just to try and counter out the True Power, but it's not working. Isolated target 1, 2, and 3. Tenor finds the double kill. That is the small little crack that FNATIC needed to blow this game wide open. Now their composition can succeed. Fisheko, unfortunately, gets solo Hexafire there in the corner, and Sheepa is going to score that kill. Tenor barely escapes with his life as well. And that death there for Fisheko may have just opened the door for VP to come back into this.
Honestly, yeah, being able to get that kill, Sheepa actually plays that properly, gets aggressive, but he's not the one making the difference. Elvenpath does jump in, tries to touch down. Hexafire was already used, though. Bittner gets another double kill, looking for a third as he comes in aggressive onto Sheepa. Thiel gets credit for it, but this Androxus really seals the deal.
Ooh, all right, all right. Thiel keeping it going with the assert dominance. I like that as well. And Jordy holds on to the time and space. I will say, normally big time and spaces come on the cliffside flank, I'll call it, on Jaguar Falls. And VP aren't really playing those rooms, Core. They're going straight to the objective. They don't have a Nara, but they're all huddled down there on the point. They've got their Solar Blessing, and Barrick's doing his damnedest to try and do his best Nara impression. Nice reversal there, but it's still not enough to get the kill. Tenor wants this, but he just has to back off.
The big issue for Virtus.pro that I've seen so far is having an answer for the Androxus, having an answer for the Talus. Both of these flanks seeming to be able to just run up onto anybody they want to from Virtus.pro, and they cause them a lot of trouble in the process, either not taking enough damage or being able to get the kill. As long as they're alone.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be, if Virtus.pro change it, what they can do. And they did what you had asked for during that last round, where it's just they separated Virtus Pro. They broke the huddle that was the team. Sheep is off on his own. You get a kill right there. And then once you start picking up one, it's a lot easier to find one, then another, and just isolate them, pull them away, because they have to cover more ground with less people.
That was a pretty quick round in round 1. Not a lot. A couple people behind on items. I think Bugsy... No, not Bugsy. Tenor on Cassie was only leaving the base with his Wrecker 1 that he bought at the very start of the game. As the items start to equalize here, Gore, what do you think happens to these team fights? Does it become easier and easier for FNATIC?
I feel like they're starting to recognize Virtus Pro and their method, the way that Virtus Pro are trying to win these fights. I don't think it's been enough that they are going to be able to counter them every step of the way, and I think that there's a little bit of an aggression coming down from Virtus Pro that's admittedly kind of unexpected, something they haven't really done in the past. They're known for being a little bit more patient, but so far they haven't really hesitated as much on being able to drop ults, being able to get aggressive into a fight. Sometimes it costs them their life there, like Sheepa, but sometimes it's
really
giving them a point.
Sheepa comes out of that door. If he chooses correctly and, you know, rocket barrages both of those targets, he probably, you know, gets a double kill there. But the simple fact that he chose incorrectly and looked right instead of left, I mean, he took 2,000 damage in the blink of an eye from Leon and Androxus. That was really funny. Tenor taking a little bit of a cheeky route here. He's going to head back to safety of the map. Try his luck a couple more times here. Ruckus misses his Solar Blessing as well. That's the big healing cooldown for Virtus Pro that just whiffs on the objective. No effectiveness. Tenor's taking this opportunity to go to the back line, find himself a triple kill, looking to make it a quadra kill. Can it be the penta? It will be. It's Bittner, dropped 5 on the Godslayer.
Just to clean it up, just to emphasize his point towards the end, to show off that FNATIC, it's not just a 2-0. They're going to continue this rate. I mean, now 11-6. Again, 4th on the damage charts, which is about where you expect Androxus, but he has been such a nuisance for them. No one has been able to shut him down, and if he isolates you, he hits his headshots. Bittner does not mess around, and I think that's going to be the thing that could end up ending Virtus Pro. If Perdo, if Sheepa, if Ninu get caught out, that's it.
No accursed arm needed. That's the only part of the kit that he didn't use. He was hitting reversals there, dashing around. About 6 dashes used in that fight, 3 to get off and on the map, and then 3 to go deep, throwing hands as well. I mean, how can you ask for anything more? The perfect display of Androxus' kit. Here comes the true power across the way. Time and space sets up the kill. Gera gets the guaranteed target. And Gore, I said there was no CC to set up time and space, but I completely forgot about the true power combo. Something we saw a ton of at Worlds this past year, but something that has just not been a factor since.
And you can see the float that it makes that impact. I mean, last round we saw True Power was the attempt, I guess, was to just stop it from being able to come through. And even though it resets to 70, it stopped it from having an impact. Not only getting that kill, but then letting Bittner and Fisheko just start rolling up. A 10 streak now for Fisheko. They weren't worried about it. Nice Enlightenment. It doesn't matter. Fisheko's still going to be able to pick up the kill. Perdo just doesn't do anything. And that Dome Shield is just 1 foot away from where it needed to be.
There it is. FNATIC grab another payload incredibly quickly. And the young superseding the old Fisheko, despite the Enlightenment comes out. How can you lose a 1v1 when you use your Enlightenment?
Yeah.
I mean, Fisheko putting the moves on Perdo to come out on top of that 1v1.
And just being able to find those shots. It's clean from the Cassie. And I mean, at this point, again, you're looking at players from FNATIC, and this is the feeling I was kind of curious about. I didn't have this feeling about FNATIC in the first game. I didn't have this feeling about FNATIC in the second game. This time, they're starting to feel like FNATIC for the first time in this set. The 22 streak on the Genos probably helping a little bit with that, and this Luminary has been working perfectly for them so far.
And Tenor playing whack-a-mole over here with Sheepa. Exactly what they did last time. It was Sheepa getting aggressive. That's what opened up the map for FNATIC to break the base, but it looks like he's learned his lesson. He's not really interested in getting aggressive. Bugsy. Never seen him Rune of Travel too late. I think that's the big thing that he does on Talus that not a lot of other people do. He will almost never die out in the field. He always gets that Rune of Travel off at the last possible second.
Trying to figure out how to break this, and like you said, last time it was Sheepa getting aggressive. This time Bugsy looking to try and get aggressive into him, figure out is there a way to take him out. They do have through time and space and true power, so if they need to, they can line him up once again. But with ult starting to come back online for Virtus Pro, you have to decide who is your target. And you have to decide it fast because otherwise they're all going to be able to dodge it in some way or just set it up. But here comes the true power going into the backline looking for a kill.
Ooh, Furia tried to pop the in-flame. They got it out, but they still got the kill. That's the difference. Theo finds 2 now on a Surets. Gara goes down from behind the rock. It's a 2 for 2. The front line's putting in the work here. Theo, the artillery cannon, the anti-air beast. Can't quite get it done, but wow, what an effort there. Theo almost finding 3. But at the end of the day, the dust will settle and no one comes out on top. The payload exactly where it started.
Only streak still burning for FNATIC is going to be this 12 streak up for Fisheko, who's been playing phenomenally on Cassie this game. A lot of good damage from him. And I would say the make or break as to whether or not they can actually continue pushing this payload. They get rid of Elvenpath right in there. Him and Bittner doing the double team. And that's going to give them the overtime proc. That's going to give them the push starting to go up. And now Virtus Pro are all looking low.
They are about half health here in the back line. Fisheko looking for an angle. He doesn't have a splash shot up right now, and that might make things easier for Ninu. Fisheko doesn't want any more of it. If he had a splash shot, maybe. Enlightenment comes through. It doesn't clip anyone there. It's actually Elvenpath that takes down Fisheko. 2 for 2 again. 3 for 2 in favor of FNATIC. FNATIC look for the 4 for 2. One member remains standing, the oldest member of D69. Bittner's looking like he's going to put him in the ground and claim another FNATIC map. 2 now up in this best of 5. They've got 1 to go.
I feel like Bittner, when he got the quadra kill, kind of heard how I was like, well, one of those was given to you. And so he just decides to get the present for that one. And then the rest of the team just step up to the next level. It, again, looked much more like FNATIC than what we've seen out of the first 2 games. Fisheko sitting at 102,000 damage on that Cassie. And the 69k coming out from Bittner, even though it wasn't a lot, he was still 14 and 8.
Yeah.
Being able to find a lot of kills.
Fisheko having a silently a really good game on Cassie. That's kind of the way that Cassie does her things, though. She's not very often the focus of anyone's attention. She's not very often the core win condition of a composition either. I think, you know, you usually get to go under the radar a little bit as well. Theo did a good job on Ashe. You saw the anti-air effort trying to take that Willow up out of the sky. That was a lot of fun. You had Bugsy and Gara working so well together, getting those guaranteed kills with their time and space, or at the very least, forcing out an Enflame, forcing out a Fae Flight, just so that target could stay alive.
But it all came down, in certain moments, to this Androxus being able to open up just enough. And that was where it started up. It would be a double kill here, maybe 2 kills, 1 kill. Either way, he would just start Virtus Pro on the retreat. He would push them back single-handedly. And this was where the point, no Accursed Arm comes out. It's just reversal, some punches, and a few good shots.
A lot of burst damage there, and a headshot to finish it all off. Just beautiful stuff there from Tenor. And that was after, you know, playing around off the map as well. He was using the Andro passive to just kind of just float around and get that opportunity. And that's what really good Andros will do, right? You know, they will just kind of poke out with the character, use the passive float, and you hold the space bar down just to get those angles a little bit longer than no one else can play with. I mean, Andro's got almost Drogo's levels of float if you use your dashes appropriately.
Stone Keep is an interesting map to go to. This is a Virtus Pro choice because they lost again. But the biggest thing about it is that this is the map that they have taken Na'Vi for like 4-2, 4-1s on. They've been able to beat, in the past, I think, FNATIC on this map, but it's one that FNATIC plays all of the time. This is one that FNATIC gets brought to either by Na'Vi or, in this case, Virtus Pro. And so I'm curious if their strategy for this map is going to be able to top what has been this just phenomenal play from FNATIC.
This is good. I mean, this is Navi's map. This is the way Na'Vi would draft this map as well. FNATIC need to use this as a nice little practice ground, I think, at this point.
How to beat
to
Na'Vi.
beat VP with a very Na'Vi-esque starting to build draft here. Na'Vi are one of the few teams that are going to first pick that Inara away from FNATIC. It was banned out last game, and so VP definitely want to scoop it up. Those are an incredibly strong 3 champions for VP to grab out of the gate.
And I like the fact that they grabbed Leon there. It's probably not something they had maybe initially in their thoughts of grabbing at least this early, but because Willow was already picked up, you're thinking there's Dead Zone. If we let them have Death and Taxes on top of that, this Inara is not going to have anywhere near the efficacy that we've seen out of her in the past. So we're going to have to start picking up at least a little bit of the anti-heal for ourselves to try and not only cause some trouble for FNATIC, but to just not give them the Wombo combo that shut us down just a couple maps ago.
Ninu's going to head back to what he had a lot of success on in game number 1 with the Xin. Elvenpath will be back on the Ashe. Barrack is open. VP felt like they took that away fairly early. I believe it went about 3rd or so. on Jaguar Falls. FNATIC take it 5th and final. This is a very, very FNATIC draft against what feels like a pretty Na'Vi draft. I mean, the first pick, Inara, they grab the Ashe as well. The Xin is not super Na'Vi. I will give them that. But overall, I think FNATIC will be put to the test here.
I was actually talking with Evan earlier about one of the reasons I think Na'Vi has been able to find so much success in comparison to teams like FNATIC. And at this case, Virtus.pro, and it's something that I think a lot of teams, admittedly, is just something that comes with skill. It's not really something you can practice, although grinding will definitely help. And it's just their ability to adapt. They recognize scenarios mid-game, and they will learn, this round, X strategy did not work. We're going to try Y. We're going to try Z. We're going to keep moving. Or, if they lose a map, whether it's to FNATIC or if it's to like Team Envy, they figure out, why did they win on that map? What can we do to adapt that to our strategy and make it work for us in a later set?
Initial aggression coming out here in the keep. Tenor has to back off, gets a big heal from Gera though. And this is the way it goes for FNATIC. I mean, they don't have a front line that's going to spearhead this, though. Blood in the water early on. First blood at 1 minute and 15 seconds in. Tenor already striking with Androxus. Ninu whirling away. And Sheepa's holding it down. He is completely zoned out FNATIC here in the keep, but Tenor, I think, could just go right around him. Just another step up to the top.
Being able to hold it. That's actually going to get caught out. He thought he was going to be safe, but that's going to be Ninu getting aggressive. Unfortunately, FNATIC was there to catch up for his teammate, or at least find revenge. And so now FNATIC 30%, 3% for Virtus.pro. But they lose Bittner. What I feel like Bittner is the driving factor for the team, right? He is kind of he's the point on the spear that drives the rest of the spear into the wound. So if he can get up there, that'll make the difference.
He needs to get up there so FNATIC can get up there.
Yeah.
Is pretty much what needs to happen. 30% for FNATIC on the objective, and only 27 and now tying it up at 30 apiece for VP. But Ninu waiting in the wings, wanting this duel with FNATIC, but he is losing it. Heavy-handed, gets a big heal from Furia. Here comes actually some ultimates. Cassie, the first one to pop hers off. Bugsy getting plenty of damage, it would seem.
Being able to find it. Ninu gets one kill right there. Bittner is dead as well. That's actually an opening point for Virtus.pro. Even though they do lose Elvenpath with Sheepa on this Inara, that should make it a little bit easier for them to get aggressive. Bugsy and Jera going to be kind of locked down. Theo seemingly locked down, and that's 87 and rising overall for Virtus.pro.
Drops a big old presence cool. That's a 16-second cooldown for a turret there, brother Perdo. Not playing around with Barrack. I like it. Here's the Illusory Rift, though. A lot of healing coming through. The strafe pattern is good from Tenor. Throws up the hands, forcing Bugsy to die instead. I like the play. It's a little bit selfish from Tenor, but Bugsy just didn't have the defensive answer, and he is going to take that one on the chin. It doesn't matter, though. FNATIC still, at the end of the day, are winning this fight. However, it's 99% to 42% in favor of VP. So anytime somebody from VP gets in here to start overtime, it's going to force FNATIC to fight on the point.
Watching FNATIC has brought back a couple memories from the summer split. Notably, Mouse had played on Bright Marsh, I believe, the Willow, and FNATIC just shut him down.
Oh, baby. Ninu comes in here to try and give FNATIC the business, but Gera, spot healer extraordinaire, helps him shrug it off like it was nothing. Gera doing a great job of that. That's an ultimate that he's just negated through pure skill. And the reversal's landing, but it's 50 HP. It's not enough. Who's going to come out on top of this? Next shot wins. It's going to be Tenor, but it's a small consolation prize, Gormizer. There is little to no hope at this point. FNATIC lose the first objective.
Too little health, not enough ammo, and not enough distraction factor to allow Bittner to come in and just sweep up that one. So unfortunately going to get pushed away. And another big impact is whether or not Willow is being able to sit in the position that FNATIC wants to, if he can get aggressive. I mean, this is one of the maps that we saw, I think, first for them to be able to bring out the Willow and make it look phenomenal. I remember asking if it was whether or not Willow was the meta or if that was just something FNATIC was able to do because they were against Mouse Sports at the time. And this is a map that FNATIC knows how to do it. He has been bouncing the seedlings off of the balconies to land on the point perfectly. If he can keep up a better performance, then I think Virtus.pro halts in their tracks. But if they can just keep pressure like this on Bittner, on FNATIC, then there's nothing FNATIC seems to be able to do.
Well, he hasn't really been able to get to a spot. He's been playing out of church this whole game,
yeah,
as opposed to the keep, which has been basically under Virtus.pro control. the entire game. Surretz actually finds the kill onto Bugsy. Pacheco has to flutter away. Tenor, I'm not sure if he can fight down this hallway either, with Elvenpath sitting looking very imposing. Trying to create some space for Nino to get to the back line. The hands go up. They will find a connection. A lot of low targets in the background. A lot of clump targets as well. They're all clumping for that Solar Blessing, and now they are all full HP, and they're going to be a much bigger problem for Isbitner.
A minute left, and they're looking to try and break this final archway. One of the bigger choke points on the map. Very difficult to be able to push through, at least properly. But if you can get a very good just starter ult, maybe a couple kills even instead, then it makes it a lot easier. But FNATIC are not going to give up ground easily. They're not going to put themselves in a position where you will be able to find them. So I'm looking back towards this Zen. What can he accomplish? What can Leon accomplish in terms of being able to find not only one kill, but maybe some long-range strikes? When Ninu is getting targeted out, Bittner knows he needs to get in here.
How many times has this 100 HP card, I think it's 100 HP, can we look at Zen's loadout here? How many times has he been saved by the skin of his Infamy 2? Increases your max HP by 100, and I mean, I've seen him live with 50 or less twice now.
And just being able to use that, it's just enough that he can back out and then pop his billow, right? Which he has an increased duration. You get a little bit of a heal, you come right back in. I think this is the big difference so far from Ninu. Survivability has been big overall for a lot of Zen players in the past, but he is, I want to say, lucky as well. I think that's a little bit part of the skill, is being able to get out with that 50 HP. And now if he can get on the side, find a couple double kills like he did in game number 1, that will make the difference for his team.
Ooh, unable to win that fight with Theo. Elvenpath goes down near the objective, and FNATIC send Virtus Pro reeling once more. Great little strike there from Ninu at the end of it all. But it's going to be the defense held 1-1 on the scoreboard. VP, the biggest adjustment that they need to make, I think, is just maintaining control of that keep. And then that's not really even a change at that point, because they did that fairly well in round 1.
I want to see him potentially lock down Bittner a little bit more, although I'd say a couple of his kills started to come out more towards the, not only the end of the capture, but also during that payload push, when he was able to kind of pick up a little bit. 8 and 3 is still a great slash line. 6 and 3 for Pacheco, so they have the control, they have the kills. But the question is whether or not this point is actually going to make a big difference. Knowing your base is safe is one thing, but you have to get in there right now. 300 credits in favor of Virtus Pro, thanks to that first capture point. Gives them just a little bit of a leg up. I see the Cauterize 3, I think, is the biggest one. Sheepa being able to apply that.
Oh, the Inflame comes out. Scout. Or excuse me, Scout. That was the Scout line, just with Bugsy's skin. It sounded almost a little bit like Furia there. She's still holding on to her Inflame. That heal didn't work at all. I mean, still dead zoned a little bit. You have to be careful when playing around those things. Here comes the Spite, but it misses Goremizer. Here's the Inflame, and the Illusory Rift to counter it out. Both support ultimates at the same time. Ninu gets a big heal as he comes around the corner. Tenor's in trouble. Tenor gets whirled for the kill. It's a 2-0 in favor of VP.
Being able to find a lot of healing from Ying only opens up so much, but the movement speed, the damage coming down from that Inflame, I mean, that was clean from Virtus Pro. You pop that Inflame and it almost seems as though FNATIC had no response. Even though you see the Illusory Rift come down, you get all that healing. There's only so much you can try to do to counter all of that being dumped on them, especially with the Cauterizes being kind of thrown in towards there. Having that Cauterize 3, having that Death and Taxes applied, made it a lot more difficult for FNATIC to just survive, let alone try to get back to the point.
They didn't even really get to pop ults. I mean, they had Scout and Illusory Rift, two okay ultimates. They're fast charging, but Scout impact is kind of minimal. Illusory Rift depends on the Cauterize level, and when you're working against Leon, it's, you know, very difficult to get some value at times. Outside of that, you know, we got a Cursed Arm, Dome Shield, and a Faith Flight that just didn't get used.
Elvenpath actually dashing in there. I think he might have thought he was going to get stopped a little bit earlier. Bittner's been kind of going up and down over this doorway, making sure he's safe, or getting aggressive when need be. But with Elvenpath diving really deep, not really accomplishing much other than giving his life, I feel like that kind of put a stop to what FNATIC, or what Virtus Pro had thought to do against FNATIC. Ninu, if he loses his boxing match with his team right next to him, Bittner.
What's happening, Gore?
I just feel like they're throwing bodies at him.
I fell asleep for a second there. What happened? I mean, he goes out the most awkward wall of 2018, somehow works, and then Tenor has the right reaction. He throws up his reversal. You can trigger your dash reset off of a Nara wall, right?
Yeah.
And that looks like what he wanted to do, And at the last second, he just like changed his mind and like threw it out into the wild and whiffed. So I'm like, it's just like awkward things and weird mistakes happening back and forth. A little bit of inconsequential when it's all said and done, but it's kind of funny to watch and comment on.
Right there you see Elvenpath feeling what Dead Zone can truly do to you, even though Furia Beam is known for being able to heal like crazy. It wasn't enough, but look where Virtus Pro are. They are almost all the way in. You have to be down there. No one touches. Fish Echo actually falls back instead. And I guess FNATIC just want to play with the comeback mechanic.
Well, they don't have any choice now. And this is tough for them, man. It's the Stone Keep with these Inara drafts. It's the same way that Na'Vi beat them, and good on Virtus Pro for kind of doing their homework, watching, and saying, hey, why don't we try this? You know, clearly works against them. We just have to execute at a level pretty close to Na'Vi, which is, you know, not easy to do, of course, but wow, Virtus Pro really showing up today, looking like they could tie up the set and force a Game 5 against FNATIC.
3, 2,
If they can push
1.
just a little bit onto this payload at the beginning and get a little bit of pressure forced onto FNATIC, and then even if they lose a team fight, I think they will have a chance to come back. It's just all coming down to how does this comeback mechanic work for FNATIC in their favor, and how can they play it? If they're going to stand on the point the entire time, it's going to work, but they don't have the Inara to be able to do so.
There it is, Illusory Rift. How can you really fight into her, though? You can see Elvenpath, he can't get any effective damage in while that healing's coming through. The Dead Zone onto the objective, forcing Inara off. Elvenpath's got the heal. The Solar Blessing tops off both of those front lines. Elven's got his Assert Dominance as well. He's coming through, and he's looking to bully some FNATIC players off of this objective, but look at the burst damage from up top. Pacheco finally gets control of the Keep Core, and he's going to work with it.
And that's all he needs. Look at Elvenpath. There's nowhere he can really run where he's not taking damage. Throws up the shield. Now Ceretz is going to be the promised land. Both of them going to be going down. Bittner getting aggressive onto one. Now Sheepa, unfortunately, the next target with comeback mechanic. That's pretty much all you need. A couple of dismounts from here. And that's all she wrote, I think, for Virtus Pro. Unless they can touch back, I do see Ninu getting closer.
Yeah,
and with Billow, Xin is one to be able to hold on to overtime, at least for a little bit.
They'll touch. VP still have a ton of ultimates. They are not out of this fight yet by any stretch, but they have to maintain control of the keep. Ninu goes up. Very aggressive ultimate there. And Tenor punches in the back of the head so the counter won't trigger and kill Pacheco. Beautiful play.
Fayflight going to get popped, going up around and trying to find Sheepa Bordeaux again. They're looking for it, and that's actually going to miss, or it connects. Pacheco incredibly low, but Bordeaux falls right down into the rest. And Thiel going to be able to stand here. Not necessarily last man standing, but kind of feeling like it with all of the kills that are falling around him.
Not a Pacheco flutter, but he does end up killing himself there. And I don't know why. It looks like they had the tendency, like Tenor tried to like body block that Enlightenment, so it just ends up hitting both of them. Because you can't body block Enlightenment. It's a penetrating bolt that flies through as many targets as you put in front of it. As long as it doesn't hit a shield, Fire Strike connects there, and then Pacheco shoots a wall and kills himself with the self-splash damage. And you hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
I'm
really curious as to how Virtus Pro is going to do on the defense. Just because while they have some good range overall, they don't necessarily have, well, they don't have a blaster except maybe for Ashe if that's what you're going to quantify her as. And even still, it's not the same impact that you're going to see out of Willow, out of Bomb King, out of anybody that you typically see filling that role. So it's going to be up to Virtus Pro to potentially make that big swing and I think put a lot of pressure onto the Fury, the Zen, Leon to find some of these side kills, maybe find a good angle, but it's all up to this Arch and whether FNATIC feel like they are comfortable.
Big burst damage. Oh, so close again. Saved by that damn HP card. How many times? Ninu. Oh, maybe beginner's luck. I don't know. Rookie luck. What do you want to call it here? But Ninu is scraped by with less than 50 HP, I think, 3 times on camera this game. So you have to imagine maybe a couple more that we haven't seen.
I think you hit a certain number of times where it goes from, okay, well, that was just lucky that you had that card, to eventually it's just you're calculating how much damage they're going to do and being able to fall out. I'm going to give him a little bit more credit, mainly just for having that card in his loadout. It's making it clean for him. He's been able to escape countless times, whether or not it has been because FNATIC aren't getting aggressive enough, if they just don't have the follow-up, if they're playing the map angles wrong, or if he's playing it just perfectly as the Zen. They're at least holding on as best they can. 30 seconds or a little over is going to make or break this tie or leave FNATIC with half a comeback mechanic going into next round.
30 seconds on the clock now. FNATIC trying to just tie it up at this point, right? So they are not in a position where they can afford to spend a lot of ultimates, because then they'll just be in a rough spot going into the 3-3 point fight. Virtus Pro have almost everything they need available as well. Elvenpath heads down. Here comes the Pyre Strike, but it's not in time. They can't save Elvenpath's life. Can they save Theo's life? Theo goes down as well. Sheepa's back on Inara. And I don't see these boys getting through the Stone Warden in time.
Respawn proximity going to be big for Virtus Pro. Every single kill you see coming on to FNATIC, they're not going to be back for a long time versus Virtus Pro, who just have to kind of walk out and drop off the balcony to be able to defend. They're going to be able to find it right there. And I think the big point for FNATIC is how well can they deal with the Inara at the beginning. And once that front line's off board, you can just start rushing down anybody. If you need to take the keep, send Androxus in there, and Leon all of a sudden doesn't seem so strong.
Inara's locking it down. She seems to be Inara's got to be one of the more underrated champions, I think.
She is my favorite frontline, probably in my top 3.
Underrated might not be the right word either, because she is first picked, right? She is banned sometimes, but that's this week, right? Even back in the summer, or the spring split rather, the summer split even. She was such a big staple, I think, of a certain style, right? The non-3 DPS. If you weren't running 3 DPS, you pretty much needed to have Inara. She always manages just to kind of fly a little bit under the radar for me. People starting to ban her now, though. We'll see if that makes a difference. Sheepa getting big heals on the objective. Illusory Rift to counter it out. Seismic Crash threads the needle to the right of the tree, left of the doorway, into the church, and stunning out one target. Sheepa has been on point. He's probably going to win this boxing match with Theo as well, slowing him down with the Warder's Field. Bowling Ball is going to keep him alive for the time being, but now Theo between an Ashe and an Inara. How is this damn little dwarf wiggling his way for so long? He buys so much time, but it still doesn't look like it's quite enough for FNATIC. This 1v1's important. Tenor comes in, saved by the bell. He tags in his partner, and it's Tenor again with a triple kill, a quadra kill, a pentakill, all on Androxus today. Holy crap, he's looked incredible on this champion.
And it just goes back to what you said. Theo buys time. That time
So
is literally
much.
what it takes to get Bittner back into the fight. And if Theo dies a little bit earlier, then you start seeing Virtus Pro snowball a little bit more of that fight. Because that distraction was all on there, they don't get any more % on the capture point. They don't get any more kills. And then Bittner shows up and just starts going through 3 kills for him just on his return, let alone what he's been able to pick up since then, now picking up the healer. Elvenpath is incredibly low. I just don't know if Virtus Pro have the ability to come back and control this.
Tenor finds Surrettes in the background. I heard Enlightenment go off, and it felt like, that was trying to maybe take down Tenor, because Peridot was back with his support. And Bittner is just popping off today. What a performance from the young Stunna. After a really kind of doo-doo game 1 again. Remember, Virtus Pro just maybe catching FNATIC off balance in that match. You got to give them all the credit in the world, but 3-9, I believe his slash line was, on a champion that he is admittedly not played a lot of, but the one time we did see him play it in week 1, he did well. Fasheko continues to do well. Bugsy rock solid with 23 assists and a 7-7 KD. What more can you ask for?
I mean, the numbers right now, output from FNATIC, are phenomenal. And if you're looking at something like that, the way the last round went, the way this round is looking like it might go, this payload, even if it gets snagged on this archway, I think it is coming up on pretty much what could potentially be the enemy. Virtus Pro at this point are staggered mentally, let alone in terms of their ability to actually leave the base, find some kills. Everything is slowly starting to go in FNATIC's way. And I'm looking at Bittner to really start this up. If Sheepa goes down, then I think Virtus Pro are kind of left without their head. They don't know what to do.
I would love to see Tenor try that angle again, but float out, go 1 dash out, and then 2 dashes up for the Accursed Arm. Just come at them from an angle. I don't think they're like through one of those arches, you know what I mean? Like way back by that spawn door. I want to see that angle played by Andrew. I feel like it could work just because of the surprise factor alone. Like how many peekaboos do you get from that angle in your games?
I think the big worry is always get back on the map. How soon can you do it?
It's true.
The Accursed Arm, and I mean just slow fall coming down from Androxus gives you a lot of maneuverability. Although Bittner goes down, it looks almost like Fasheko will die. That 200 health is what he has.
How many times has Fasheko been bailed out of spite this game?
As
Garrett bailed him out, Bugsy bailed him out now.
And at the tail end, it's like you're almost dead. But just good enough to be able to get on out of here.
It's like messing around with your friends, right? Like, you know, like almost tipping them over in their chair or something at the last second, be like, all right.
If you go
we'll
to,
save you.
You go to push him in the pool, but then you hold on to his wrist so he doesn't actually fall. You pick him back up. Nothing gets wet. That has been the perpetual state of Fasheko.
There it is. The Solar Blessing comes through. Ultimates being spent from both sides. Tenor stunned out. That cute little Yin clone tried to keep him alive, but it's not enough. Sheepa runs down 2 dogs in the streets of Stone Keep. It's going to be a long one here. We are north of 20 minutes as the clock strikes midnight, and the final round will begin. Now 3-3 between Virtus Pro and FNATIC.
I feel like this is going to show a little bit of mixed success because this was where your triple kill comes out, Bittner looks good. Then you replay the end of that round, and you can see, well, I guess it was only 2 kills that he really picked up. He was 23-10, now he's 23-12. But still, not able to accomplish a lot. Sheepa was trying to keep control, and that's where all these seismic crashes have been going. Every single one I've seen thrown out is looking for Bittner. How can we kill Bittner? Where is this Androxus, and how do we just shut it down for a second to give us some breath, to give us some room? But that's going to be gone. You're not going to have an Inflame. You don't have a Spike. You don't have Assert Dominance. You have maybe a lucky shot from Perdo, which admittedly he's been hitting some, missing some. No ults available. I think that might make a big difference here for Virtus Pro.
Fasheko's about 30 in-hand attacks and a couple Nightshades away from hitting 200,000 damage in a PPO game, and I don't think that happens very often. This is a 22-minute barn burner at the moment, and now look at this. He's going to be able to farm some player damage here, just free-firing down from the keep. FNATIC have to maintain control of it, though. Ninu's coming around the side. Virtus Pro are starting to run away with this point a little bit as they head north of 70%.
Looking to try and find the pressure. Ninu still going to try and fight back, but that Seedling, as well as just these burst shots, are going to be able to shut him down. Now up in the air, the Fey Flight's going to be good. A couple of shots from him. Bugsy going to be able to take care of Perdo, and now they're just starting to clean it up. But Virtus Pro's at 99%. They are still in this as long as they have someone able to come through.
Oh, he sneaks the Nightshade dead zone under the balcony onto the objective and slays out Sheepa. 99% for VP, though. They only have Inflame. FNATIC have no ultimate. Seismic crashes at 91%. VP are close to having some serious ultimates available for themselves, so I don't know. They might be able to bring this one back. I don't think FNATIC are out of the woods yet.
I mean, if you pop Inflame, you come in. Ninu's going to be able to do a lot more damage. Win trades like this, and there it's going to be. All you have to do is find that aggression, get this kill, and it's going to mean so much for your team. But you have to start hitting these shots. He's forced to billow out, and the Inflame should be ending soon.
Got to get the kills here. Gera on the objective, a little bit reckless. 1 for 1. Here it is, the moment of truth. 2 for 2 now. FNATIC versus Virtus Pro. 3 for 3. It's coming down to the wire. Only Perdo is left alive. He doesn't have enlightenment. Fasheko flutters up again. He gets another Fey Flight. How did he get 2 so quickly? And I mean, Gera's just allowed to just pump it up on the objective. I love it. He comes through. Feeling good, playing aggressive as well. Gera was right there in the thick of it with the troops.
And that's one of the rare moments I feel like we've gotten to see Ying actually like dealing damage. A lot of the numbers, and I'm sure the numbers for that are still going to be low. Like you hit maybe 20,000 usually as a Ying, and he's going to be right around that mark.
Boy, did it.
But it was an important 20,000 at the tail end. The healing numbers.
Surretts.
240.
308,000 healing for Surretts on Furia. That's got to be a record, as well as Fasheko, 210,000 damage. I think that game, I don't know, ended up being somewhere around 23 minutes, maybe getting close to 24. About as long as it could possibly go. 23 minutes and 12 seconds on the final clock. Holy crap.
24 and 8 with 23 assists on top of that.
That's
for
crazy.
Fasheko. So, and applying a lot of damage, using Dead Zone really well. One of the things that I was thinking was going to be an issue coming into that was how do you kill the Inara if your Dead Zone's being used off on the side trying to find kills? And Fasheko answered it by just killing everybody whenever he got the opportunity.
Sheesh. Absolutely insane stuff there in this first set of the day. So much action from Virtus Pro, a team that we clearly did not give enough respect to. I mean, they get the game. I think they're feeling good about the way this set went.
Oh, definitely. This is one way to leave it. I mean, if you take away FNATIC having their stellar performance, like if you give them, again, average performances this time around, I think Virtus.pro take not only that game, but I think we go back a little bit looking at Ascension Peak. I think they're even able to find that one. So looking at the way things went, if FNATIC stumbled on anything, if they had tripped up just a little bit, I think that was going to make or break this for Virtus.pro. And because of that, again, this is a team to start looking at, a team to keep your eyes on. I mean, this is week 2.
Yeah.
What about week 3, week 4, week 5? The way things are going for the PPL, it's definitely changing from, like you had mentioned before we got into this, the static positioning of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Europe. Virtus.pro could be 3. Virtus.pro could be 2 if they can keep up a performance like that.
Virtus.pro, this is how it kind of started to look back in the fall split of last year. They looked bad in week 1, looked a little bit better in week 2. Week 3, we're like, oh my goodness, okay. And then by weeks 4 and 5, they're beating everyone, right? They really didn't lose a game down the stretch 1 year ago, so maybe it's a new beginning here. Maybe it's Virtus.pro just coming alive, the full moon, the harvest moon there, right? The werewolf claws come out, and Virtus.pro, the Bears from Russia, really start to look like themselves again. My name is Pretty Hair. That's Goremizer. That was just set number 1. We got another one coming up for you right after this break.